Thank you very much for joining for another session on the Automation Diaries, the Wizards of Automation. We're very fortunate to have with us today Manish Bharti, who is the President of India and South Asia for UiPath, the leading intelligent automation platform provider across the globe. Manish is a great friend. So, Manish, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you, there. Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me to this. I really appreciate your time and patience. And this is a beautiful Sunday afternoon, and I'm glad to be talking to you at this time. And yeah, thank you very much once again.
Yeah. Let me start, Manish, by congratulating the UiPath team and especially you for having being recognized as one of the top 50 companies by CNBC.
Thank you very much. I think Uday, this was the latest accolade that we received from industry. So I would definitely like to thank my partners and customers, especially for this, without which, as a company, we cannot achieve any heights. You know, CNBC Top 50 Disruptor Award is a very important award for a company, as it gives you a platform to be seen as 50 distinguished companies around the globe who have created impact on their ecosystem. You know, and so this has been one of the very recent additions to our glory. And just before that, we were rated, you know, the leader in Forrester and Gartner as well. You know, just to add it here. So it's been a great year so far for us. You know, like starting January, and the success continues.
Great. Manish, you've had a very interesting journey professionally. And today you are leading India operations for one of the leading companies in automation. How important is India in the global scheme of things for UiPath?
Well, I'll just do a bit of rewind here, you know, and just to get you a context about how we landed up in India. So that was, India operations for UiPath started in 2016. That was the first operation of UiPath outside of Romania in the world. So outside of Romania, India was the first office, you know, and that was in 2016 beginning. And we were the late entrant in the market, the local market, you know, because the other two, the large players were already present. You know, they were doing good businesses and all, and we were very small company then, you know, and nowhere to be seen. And in India, when we started from a co-working space, you know, that itself did not lend so much of credibility to us, you know, because it at times it looked like fly-by-night operators, you know. So pretty challenging 4 years, and we kind of came from nowhere to everywhere, honestly, to be very honest. And I really feel very proud of it. You know, today we have, over 300 Indian customers, companies which are headquartered in India, you know. Forget about all those multinationals who operate out of India. I mean, we are present everywhere. So it's been a great journey, and it's been difficult, I can tell you, you know, like starting from ground zero and building up this kind of scale in this market, which had already tested the automation by then, 2016, when, you know, because the large BPOs were using automation in their processes. You know, they were kind of trying to see the benefits of it. But I think we always believed in our product. We always believed in our customer intimacy, and that basically accelerated our growth in this region. And coming back to your question, like how India plays a role in the global scheme of things, couple of things, you know. So India is an outsourcing destination. We all know about it, yeah, you know. So whether it is IT outsourcing or whether it is processes or slash BPO outsourcing, you know. So in addition to that, India has a massive centers of captives, you know, of all these foreign multinationals, and they are our natural customer, you know, by virtue of the processes they run, the functions they are kind of deliver from India to their headquarters, you know, wherever they are. So I'll tell you, the majority of multi-million dollar deals that we did worldwide in the last couple of years, it actually started from India. It actually started from India because we built a solution, we built the capability in their captives. For example, the big captive deals. You think about any oil and gas company, most of them are our customers, and all deals are in the millions. So all the deals, the genesis started from India because their captives we started working with, we built the solution, around their processes. It took us 3 to 6 months to kind of get the confidence, and then it turned into a deal which eventually kind of got closed at the headquarters of these companies. So that's why we have a very, I mean, if you look at our sales structure as well, it is kind of federated. There's a headquarter rep managing the headquarter, and there's a captive rep managing the captive business here, and they kind of collaborate just to make sure the deal happens. So that's extremely important for us. And the BPOs, India is like the center of all the BPOs, so that basically gets triggered from India, in addition to the Indian companies who have started on their journey as well. So pretty critical market, and we are heavily invested in India as of today. We have not just sales functions here, we have a variety of functions that kind of deliver their capabilities and services to customers, internal and external both. So that's what I would say. So it's an important market for us. Yeah.
Great, great. Thank you so much, Manish, for an elaborate response. And really very happy to know that UiPath has phenomenal focus on India. In the past, Manish, companies had viewed automation as a good to have technology. Now, given the focus on digital enterprise transformation, RP has moved beyond just a cost saving solution. So can you please share the range of the latest technologies available in the UiPath product line, and how are you evangelizing automation across the Indian subcontinent and some of the companies globally?
Yeah, very good question. So what I'll do there, I'll categorize companies into predominantly three buckets, especially if you talk about Indian enterprises. So there are companies who are digitally native, who have been on digital transformation journey for quite some time. They understand the impact that it brings to their performances in different areas, and they have been on digital technologies even before the COVID hit. They continue to be on digital technologies, and they understand the importance and the benefits of it. So there is a delta set of companies who are in this space right now. Who are kind of practicing it every other day. There are semi digital native companies, who have started journey, maybe a bit late, and they did not accelerate their digital adoption so much, maybe because of several internal and business reasons. But with the COVID, especially if I talk about the COVID context, they accelerated that adoption. Now there are companies who did not even start on the the digital transformation journey, but I think with the COVID onset, they realized they need to be digitally active if they have to survive in the marketplace. So these are the three buckets of companies that operate out of kind of India, and I'm specifically referring to the Indian headquartered companies. So if you look at if I can give you an example of Zinnov, who recently published $1 billion companies in India, and their investment in terms of hyper automation or automation platform, so far. So you would see an interesting, I don't remember the exact number how much they have invested so far, but there is like it is anticipated that they would end up spending around $100 billion, in terms of licenses alone. When I say, by 2022, by that time. So I would share that report with you, but that's very interesting report because it's been done over a period of 3 to 6 months with a complete survey of all these companies. And the Indian companies have realized that if they have to stay in the competition, they have to be digitally native with respect to the foreign companies that operate out of India. So we see, and especially with the COVID, I can see a solid acceleration in demand, I can tell you, and that even spans across public sectors and government as well.
Great. So, Manish, you talked about the acceleration in the demand aftermath of COVID. I mean, it's really hit us unprepared to deal with it. What are some of the CEOs asking for? What kind of solutions are they looking at?
See, if you look at, for example, if you look at the CEOs from BPO companies, their main struggle is, if you look at the typical BPO operating model, employee in India would go to the office because they cannot operate out of home, because of data security. If they are managing a financial customer, a multinational financial customer, and that basically mandated them to be in office, and work in a very restricted environment. Now that had become a challenge just before COVID, because people couldn't go to office and they needed to work from home. Now companies like, if you think about a big bank in the US, and if they have outsourced their process to a companies like Genpact, for example, so they wouldn't want an employee to work from home and access their financial systems, and kind of expose their data. So it was a challenge on the business for the BPOs, and they definitely reached out to us for like this kind of solution, and typically uh, many kind of other solutions. But the thing is that what we have been trying to do, we have been trying. See, it's not an overnight thing that you can achieve, and to build the customer confidence. What we did, we kind of tried giving them a solution by way of automation, that we would create a kind of tunnel, secure tunnel between your infrastructure and the agent infrastructure, I mean the employee infrastructure, and you can actually have a complete audit trail of what an employee is doing, what all systems an employee is accessing by, day in and day out, and you can be rest assured that there is no security kind of breach and all. So that kind of solution specifically we did for one of our customers, BPO customers in India. It has been received well. I must tell you, it has been received well, and that is building a kind of some confidence with the end customer. Because this is the new norm. I mean, we have to live with it. You cannot just say that now tomorrow onwards I'll start operating out of office. Nobody knows when we will go to offices and all. So the solutions are being realized, what way to kind of extend the same set of services to customers, and we are trying to help customers, the CEOs build similar kind of solutions. If you think about retail and all, we did some of the smaller firms, in India, and we did a lot of their finance processes, automated their finance processes during this tough time, and which basically ensured that all these transactions happen smoothly without any delays and all, and that too from the home. They can just trigger that process from the home. Like you think about order process of Malani forms, a small, not a big company and all, So they did all these automations, and it really proved, of great benefit to them, especially during this crisis. And their business is as usual, like from March onwards until now, they don't see any disruption. The supply chain continues to run the way it used to run earlier as well. Yeah. So there are the few things. I mean, CEOs are demanding the new norms of working, and we are trying to build innovative solutions around it with the help of automation.
Right. Circling back, Manish, could you just throw some light on your product line and the depth and breadth
Right.
of?
Right. Yes. Yes. Sorry. So I just forgot it. So essentially, we started as an RPA company. Standard rule-based automation. Like extracting data from EXL, Excel sheet. Screen scraping and all those stuff. That was the fundamental of our platform. 3-4 years ago. Today, if I have to talk about, we have evolved as a pure play intelligent automation company. Which basically means you can do from planning to insight, end to end, of the automation, and so we have built a lot of capabilities now around process discovery, process mining, which is largely used to be a manual. You have a business analyst kind of doing discovery analysis and all those stuff. So that process is kind of automated, which basically takes away the need of people spending so many days to kind of analyze and discover the processes, which are a good candidate for automation. So that processes, that area we kind of automated with the internal with acquisition, as well as building on top of it. And then RPA was our core platform. Then we built a lot of AI capabilities in terms of AI fabric in the platform, which is definitely data driven. You need to build the data around it. And then we built a lot of insight capabilities where you can generate a lot of reports and all those things, and that too on demand. So today, if you look at it, some of our matured customers who I call digitally native customers, they are tasting the benefit of it. They are kind of realizing the importance of end-to-end hyper automation platform. So I mean, we have products kind of taking care of each of these buckets, like process discovery, process mining, RPA as core platform. Then you have uh, uh, designer platform like Studio X, Studio, and all. You can just uh, quickly uh, quickly kind of write the, I mean, automate your processes. I mean, and in no time you can kind of deploy it. And then you have AI platform, wherein you can literally kind of see what it should be. Like if you are, for example, you are analyzing an set of emails. You can build a sentiment analysis. You can, I mean, a lot of things. And then you have eventually the insight, dashboard, which is all kind of automated. So it's end-to-end platform right now.
The organizations that embark on automation, they create a business case, but they're not able to see the return on the investment. After 4 to 6 bots, many a times they're not able to scale. And as a result of which, they have to put, it's a roadblock to the growth of their whole automation agenda within the company. There could be multiple reasons for the same. What is your guidance to these organizations, and how should they be able to overcome this kind of a challenge? Whatever is on the business case, right, that you show as the cost savings ends up becoming funny money, and they're not able to realize it.
See, I'll tell you. I have seen. You're right. I've seen both. I've seen customers in both the buckets. Customers who have kind of greatly benefited from automation by deploying bots in thousands, and customers who have deployed few bots and did not see the benefit of the bots. Versus their perception. What they would have initially thought. So first thing, you have to disintegrate the bot with the concept of FTE benefit, which eventually results into cost savings for some enterprises and all. Especially if you take the Indian context, here everything equates to FTE cost. That okay, my FTE cost is this. If I use this bot, my FTE cost gets kind of saved. I think in order to realize the benefit of a true digital, automated company, in whatever space you work, in whatever sector, whatever industry vertical you work in, I think scale is important. The true scale is important, and it takes time. It doesn't happen, in 3 months time and all. It takes time. You have to have at least year one invested into this. And you just don't have to look at FTE savings. You have to look at other parameters like customer satisfaction, go to market, how fast you are kind of rendering your product to the market. All these things, how it is helping you to stay with the competition, all that. So the moment you expand your thinking horizon, that okay, FT benefits are not only my target that I'm looking by the use of bot, especially in the first year. It eventually comes, second year, third year onward. I have seen that organization like a big bank in India. First year they were just struggling, oh come on, we have invested so much of money, we are not seeing any benefits. Second year they had over 1,000 bots in production. Third year 1,500-1,600. Today no complaint. They are just enjoying the bot in the production. So it's a matter of scaling. It's a matter of patience. It's a matter of looking at other parameters. What is basically impacting your business, which you are not looking at. You are just looking at the FTE cost savings and all. I think there is a mind shift also that people have to bring in. Especially Indian companies. Because generally in our blood it is all related to savings. What we would eventually save at the end of the day. So I think that fundamental shift has to happen, and companies here have realized that. If I just talked about some of these companies like Shankara Netralaya, or Malani Farms and all. I mean, they are small companies, not big companies, But look at the kind of customer satisfaction they have by use of bot. They are looking at those parameters, at delight parameters, not just the savings in terms of FTE benefits.
So not
So
just
it's a mix of,
not
yeah,
just the tangible benefits, but also the intangible.
absolutely. Absolutely, absolutely. So you have to be there. You have to understand those benefits that you get as businesses. As part of your business.
That's right.
I'm sure.
And
I'm not too sure, yeah, if I answered your question.
no, you did, Manish. That's exactly, I'm sure is good guidance and advice to a number that there is always a tipping point in the cycle of
Yes, yes.
automation, and it's all the hurdles will always be there after your first 4 to 6 bots, but that's when you overcome that hurdle and you take off, and you will see that there is huge amount of benefit both on the tangible
Absolutely,
side and intangible side.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah,
Manish, what would be your advice to a whole lot of players or organizations, small, medium-sized organizations, who yet have not yet started on automation, right? They're still taking the decision. So they are neither this way nor that way. They really want to sort of get into the world of automation, especially after COVID. What would be your guidance to just plunge in and take the leap of faith and start automating low hanging
yeah.
fruits to begin with?
See, I think people have to bring in shift in their thought process. They have to think like, if anything uh, is to be automated, has to be automated. I think if that thought process they can bring in, and especially with the current crisis, companies who haven't, I mean, who have been, who did not even think about being a digital company, I think they have to kind of and they are under peer pressure, or maybe the market pressure, to kind of sustain, because sustenance is also the most important thing. They have to be innovative, they have to be fast, because this is the time. Because see, the current situation has taught us many lessons. If you think about the current situation, we all learned a lot of the facts of our life, as individual, as businesses, both. So I think they have to start on the journey. I'm not saying that they need to automate everything, but whatever they feel is impacting them outside inside, from outside inside, and or inside to outside, with their customers, partners, or trading network, or whatever kind of businesses they are in, they have to think about automating those areas, because it is going to help their businesses only. It is going to help their customers, partners satisfaction, and kind of end customer satisfaction, and all those things. I think this is going to become a very de facto norm. I can tell you about a company who makes agarbatti. you know they have gone automation way. A
Wow,
company of a
that's
turnover of, say, 70-80 crores. So a 7 8 million $10 million turnover companies, they realize that some of their internal processes, the code generation or the invoice generation and all, which they were doing, I mean, which they were using computers for all that, but it was taking a lot of time. Like purchase order coming from the vendor, and then kind of they kind of shipping their stuff to the vendor, and or auto generating the invoices and all. Everything is automated, and they are enjoying it. It's just a two bot, but look at the satisfaction they
stuff.
kind of garnered with respect to their customers and all, and the time, the execution time, it has been shrunk to, I think, one tenth one tenth of the original time, and no manual intervention.
Yeah.
It is just auto generated.
So not only improves
So
the customer satisfaction, but tremendously the employee satisfaction in that organization.
employee satisfaction as well, yeah. And the finance guy who was generating all this manually, I mean, just look at the time that the bots have freed for him. I mean, he has so much of extra time now to focus on other business areas. So you have to look at all other parameters, in which your organization is getting benefited by use of digital technology, especially automation.
Right. Many companies talk about automation or RPA or intelligent automation as a point solution, for local needs. Have you come
Mhm.
across any enterprise-wide use cases where automation has been engaged, not only onshore but even offshore, and it's automation across the processes, across multiple continents? Have you any case study?
Especially if you look at the large pharmaceutical or large oil and gas customers, which these companies operate across the continents. They are in APAC, they are in EMEA, they are in America, they are in India, everywhere. And if you think about any process, especially in their finance department, so it is all federated, it is not centralized, because they follow the financial rules of different geos, but at the same time a process remains one. The order can be from anywhere, fulfillment can be from anywhere, because they act as true global organizations, not like localized environment and all. So if I have to just think about any process that we have typically automated with oil and gas customers, the process may run in India, but it is actually serving all the I mean, it is actually serving entire globe for that company. So the finance team in other geos are also kind of leveraging on the same automation. So I don't think it is very specific to a geo in this case, especially of a multinational or a big global company. And we have several such cases, in all industries. You think about a large pharmaceutical company, they may have, okay, let's think about a supply chain company, like a big logistic company, say they have their processes running in Chennai, but the same process is serving their customers worldwide. It's running on their entire, global infrastructure, IT infrastructure, and taking care of the customers worldwide. So it is kind of getting extended to all the centers. I mean, this is one of the example. It is not just native to India or native to APAC and all. It is a process that we automated, which takes care of the supply chain throughout the world.
There are a whole lot of young rising professionals and business executives who are watching this particular session. They have aspiration to enhance their skill set or move into automation area. I know UiPath has been a pioneer in many ways when it's come to setting up the academy for
Absolutely.
automation related activities. What would be your guidance to them?
This is very valid question, Uday. So I'll tell you, we were the first company in the world who kind of opened up opened up our community. So in 2016 only, we our platform was open for anybody to kind of download, and kind of learn it, post their questions, challenges to the community and get the feedback. Today, it is the biggest community in the world among all the, the HIA players. So we were already there. Couple of years ago, we set up a academic alliance team worldwide, and this team had a larger component in India because of talent pool for sure, and last year alone, we did academic alliance with 200 colleges, especially to answer one of your early questions, in tier 2 and tier 3 cities, where we have talent in abundance. And so we introduced the curriculum in these colleges, like RPA, I mean, kind of subject to be taught to them in third year, fourth year, and part of the curriculum. We gave them free software. We did the train the trainer sessions so that the college faculty can kind of train the students. And we ran the world's biggest hackathon in the last couple of years in India alone, where students in the range of 5,000 to 10,000 participated in the hackathons. We recognized the talent. We brought them on our platform. We awarded them for their innovation in automation. And some of them are part of the organization also right now.
Brilliant.
Most of them have been consumed by companies like big Indian companies like Infosys, TCS and all, because they kind of, so this is an ongoing activity within UiPath, and we believe India can literally produce the massive automation talents, which will eventually take on the world in terms of skill fulfillment.
Thank you.
So this is going on. This is going on. Yes.
Thank you, Manish. On that note, Manish, I really want to thank you very much for your time today. I also want to thank the UiPath team tremendously for making India the automation capital of the world. Really appreciate all the great work done in automating our organizations across the Indian subcontinent. Thank you. Thank you very much, Manish.
Thank you very much, Uday. Such a pleasure speaking. Hope to see you soon in person.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.